What's going on out there, guys? It's the middle of winter right now where I'm at. Happens to be a pretty nice day though, so I'm out here in the garage. Gonna tear into the Nova here a little bit, I think, pretty soon. I think over the winter my project's gonna be, I'm probably gonna pull the whole motor and transmission out. I'm gonna try to do, I think I'm gonna get a different cam and lifter set for it. Gotta fix the front pump and the transmission. Show you guys here. Front pump's been leaking pretty bad for a while. See the all that mess under there. So was driving it around like that, you know, all last year, and it was okay. Just had to keep something under the car, but I already tore the radiator out because you seen in my previous video the radiator was a Champion aluminum one, and it's already leaking from like both tanks. Looks like it has little pinhole leaks in it, so that's leaking. Been trying to call the dealer guy I got it from to see if I could warranty it or not, but I haven't been able to get a hold of him. So you know how that goes. Maybe I'll have to get a new radiator. But got my carburetor's torn off because my brother had to borrow it for to break in his 400 engine, and I don't know if you've seen that video I just posted about that a while back, where he had the rag suck into the intake and all that stuff and messed it all up. So I think I'm just going to tear all this out and go through and fix some stuff. So I got to fix those leaks. So I might try to get that cam. This has a completely stock 350 cam in it. What I think I'm going to do is order the cam. There was an Engine Masters episode a while back where they had essentially the same motor as this. They put the Vortec heads on it, which I have already. And they ordered a comp Magnum 280 something cam. It's like a 230 at 48 lift or something like that. But they were able to get like 130 extra horsepower out of that with these heads and that cam over stock. So I might go with that, since I think one of my lifters is already messed up. So the cam lifter kit on Summit's pretty cheap. So I might do that. And my oil pan leaked a little bit last year when I broke it in. So fix that, and the front pump seal and the transmission and everything. But I've got to tear like the headers off and the whole exhaust, take the drive line out, all that kind of good stuff. Tear all these accessories off of here probably to get all this out of here. So I'll keep making some videos and keep you up on progress here. But well, one more thing I was going to do, got the front control arm kit, bushing kit for my buddy. I'm going to change those too, because they're, I don't know if you can see in here, they're pretty shot. Like, they're cracking out a little bit, and yeah, they're just dried out and junk. I had to tighten these up a couple times last year when I was driving the car around. You know, kind of looked at doing the whole control arm, getting tubular control arms and stuff, but I don't know if I really want to budget that in right now. So I mean, they can get kind of expensive, but my buddy had this bushing kit really cheap, so I think for this next year I'll just go ahead and change those out on both sides and go with that. It should make a big difference, I guess. So anyways, I'll get to working on this thing and I'll keep you guys updated on it. Okay, I got a bunch of the accessories and stuff turned off of here. Didn't take very long, really, because they're Vortex. There's just a couple bolts. Had to unhook my power steering lines under there. Just zip tied some baggies over them so they wouldn't leak too bad. I'm sure the first time the steering wheel gets turned, I'll just, you know, spew fluid everywhere. So whatever. Got some mats and cardboard and stuff under the car. But so I wanted to mention this. I've tried to figure this out several times. If you guys will notice, like, there's all this buildup on here, and it's actually like little bits of rubber. Like it's all over everywhere. So I've watched the car when it's running. I mean, these are actual like Vortec heads off of a truck, and I'm running all Vortec accessories, you know, with all the proper pulleys and the brackets and everything. Looks like it lines up perfectly. And I've watched it with the engine running. I can't see anything out of alignment or anything weird, but it's like my fan belt is like kind of shredding off, or like all these little bits of rubber everywhere are from my belt, my serpentine belt. And I got the correct belt and everything, so I don't really know what's going on there, but there's just like Looks like someone's doing little mini burnouts all over in my engine bay. Like there's just like little bits of rubber all over the place. So I don't know if you have any idea on that, but I mean, my belt doesn't even look like it's worn. I can't tell anything that's wrong with it. So just want to mention that, and I'm gonna probably put the car up on jack stands now and get underneath there. I gotta tear the exhaust off and some stuff. So all right, here's something for you guys. So I dropped the front of my exhaust off of from the coupler on the header, or the connector, whatever, can't think right now. But anyway, so I had the, this went through the collector, through the steel plate deal. I had a copper gasket, and then there's another, like another steel plate deal, that lines up and bolts everything together on the other side, on the header side. So this side just had the bolt, that's how I'll focus, and the bolt head was just sitting up against that steel plate, not the gasket part, but the coupler part, I guess, I don't know. And then on the other side, on the collector side, I had one of these lock washers. See if I can get it to focus here. Yeah, so one of these lock washers, right? And then a nut. And interestingly, I put these on, they're pretty much brand new. I never drove this car really out in the rain or nothing. But I was trying to take these apart. There's 6 collector bolts. I'd put a wrench on this side, and I had a ratchet on this side to turn this one. And it would, start to loosen a little bit. And then it would just get like super tight. Like it would start getting like tighter and tighter, which was really weird. I thought I could just pop these loose. This nut would just thread off of here. I'd take it apart and it'd be, a piece of cake. But see if I get this to focus here. What's happening is they kept getting really tight. See if I can get this to focus. Come on, camera. Kind of deceiving. See that little groove in the nut right there? Let's see. Can't get the camera to focus too good, but seems like when you would turn this nut, this edge of the lock washer right here would like dig into it, and it would just keep getting like tighter, and it was harder to turn. So more or less what happened was 4 out of my 6 bolts like just ended up breaking off. So I guess if you guys have the same kind of coupler set up on your headers and exhaust, you might encounter the same thing. I guess that's a good thing because they weren't, going to come loose and fall off or anything like that. So, but yeah, I just ended up having to loosen them as best I could with the wrench and the ratchet, and then I got it to turn to where like the wrench would kind of like rest up against like the cross member or transmission pan or something, and then I could really leverage on the ratchet so I didn't like break my hand on something when it broke off. And a couple of them I just kind of got the ratchet tight and beat on it with a hammer a little bit with the wrench resting against the cross member frame so that it would just snap the bolt off. But got them all out of there, so I thought I'd just run this by you guys. Those don't come off as easy as you might think. Alright, well here's how we ended up today, the progress. Got kind of dark out, so hopefully you can see this good with the light, but got all the accessories kind of torn off of here. Remove the hoses, radiator hoses, all that stuff. I'll probably pull the water pump and other things later, but I'm probably gonna try to pull the entire motor and transmission as one piece. So I'll have to take my hood off and everything. I don't know if we can see under here, I got the exhaust drop down under here. So I just unhooked it from the headers right there and just laid it down, so the whole rest of it's just kind of still attached to the car back there and everything. I'm gonna have to, I don't know if I'm gonna have to take my cross member out yet or not. I'll have to look at that, but I probably will have to take all the bolts out and stuff. They're just up there in those holes. It's not too bad to do. Unhook the shifter and whatnot. Got the other header I got to get out over there still. But I just wanted to mention, so if you're tearing your car apart, this one's a 70 Nova, so it's similar to a lot of other cars, even Camaro possibly, but What I did was I took all the header bolts out over here, and then I was able to kind of slide the header around a little bit back and forth. So I moved it around a bit, and I actually took all the spark plugs out, and then I just set them aside, and then I just kind of I had to, my header has a, I don't know if we can see here, so it's got like a one-piece connector on it, or the bracket, whatever you want to call it, that mounts to the engine there. There's no gaps in it or anything. So over here I actually had to take the dipstick out, which luckily mine was, I mean, it was in there snugly, but I was able to twist it and kind of wiggle it and work on it a little bit, and it popped out. And then get my light fixed up back here. And then I was able to just kind of adjust the header, and I got it to go down out this way through the bottom. I had to angle it off that direction a little bit, kind of finagle it some, but it went out that way. So the other side over here, I'll do the passenger side. I don't remember how we put this one in, but it looks like potentially it has a bit more room than on the driver's side over there. So I think this one will just come out and just go straight down again through underneath the bottom of the car. So I just wanted to let you guys know on that. If you're tearing your headers off, that seems to be the way to go. So take them off and drop them down. You also might have to put your car up pretty high. I actually scored these. These are like 6-ton jack stands I got from O'Reilly's the other day. So they're pretty tall, which is nice. So I was able to get the car up pretty high so that those headers drop out. I think, if I remember right, when we initially put them in the car, I didn't have these tall of a jack stands, and it was really hard trying to get them in there because the header kept like hitting the ground, and there wasn't enough clearance to bend them around the right way to get them to go up in there. So anyways, hopefully that helps someone, and I'll proceed on this and keep you guys updated. Alright, quick update on the car here today. I did get the engine and trans out. And just in case you guys were wanting to know how I did that, I was able to do it in the garage here. So the car is actually sitting on their 6-ton jack stands, and they're on the lowest setting. They're just, this one's basically kind of on the end of the control arm under there. I took the tire off to move it because I needed space for the cherry picker to go into the car. So there wasn't a lot of room in between the jack stands there, but moved that one out. So I was a little concerned about pulling the engine out, you know, with the cherry picker and it hitting the garage, because you can see the rail over there where the garage door actually goes up to. So it wasn't very tall. But we took the hood off the car, and then we were actually able to get the engine and transmission to come out as one piece, you know, out away from the firewall and up over the core support here with the car on those tall jack stands, and got it over the core support and everything. Didn't hit the garage or nothing either. We had to use this little pivot thing. I don't know what you actually call this, but this is pretty handy. So it's got this little crank on one end over there. So you hook this on the motor. It has 4 points. You basically just bolt one side of each chain to the back of one head, and the other ones mount to the front of the other side of the heads or whatever. And then you can crank the wheel, and it hooks onto the cherry picker. That hook up there. So when you crank the wheel, you know, it moves the wheel back and forth. So it allows you to tilt the motor this way or whichever way you need to. So we had that hooked up on there, and we were able to pull it out. So if you're wondering if you can do that, you totally can. I just put I had an old yoke that my buddy gave me if I have a Turbo 350 transmission here. So when I pulled the driveline out, I just had a tray under there and it caught some of the fluid, but I just stuck a yoke. I don't know if you guys can see it back there. I just stuck an old yoke in the back of the transmission so a bunch of fluid wouldn't just leak out everywhere. But yeah, with the hood off, we were able to use that tilty thing and lift it out of there, tilted it up a bit, and leveled it off to get it over the core support. And I did it with the front pulley on the motor. Like, I took it off now, but The front pulley was on there and everything. Balancer, I mean, it was pretty close, but it did come off. So anyway, so yeah, the motor's out. And I'm gonna do some updates. I'm gonna change the cam on it. I gotta fix the front pump O-ring and gasket on the transmission and stuff like that. But I know if I've talked about in past videos where this motor like either has a lifter that's not quite working right, it's not pumping up properly, or something's going on, I don't know yet. But I ordered a little bit bigger cam and a new lifter kit and stuff over there. I'll discuss that in another video. But we popped the intake off of here today, and everything still looks good. It's still pretty clean in there, actually. This motor only has about 3,000 miles on it since I rebuilt it. You know, pull this off of here. You know, it's still pretty clean. So, I mean, looking around here, I've tried to adjust the noise out. It's some kind of weird lifter noise that it makes. But there's no broken springs that I could find. No bent push rods or nothing. You know, there's no clips or nothing in there. So, kind of a mystery, but I guess we'll continue to tear it apart and see if anything happens. You know, I'll probably have to push on the lifters and see if I can find one that's a little bit funky or something. But motor's out, so I'm gonna complete some teardown on this. Hopefully tomorrow, maybe tonight a little bit, and continue on with this cam swap and stuff.